Hello, this is Joanne with Coffee Reviews, and today I will be discussing Dark Arts Coffee out of East London. And there's the box right there. I'll show you the front. And it's a washed Honduras, Lonesome town. Now, let me get a couple of housekeeping notes out of the way, because there's a lot to this. First things first, my computer crashed and is still not working while I was getting all the information for this video. So I lost my tasting wheel and I lost all of my notes, so I'm just going to be going based off of memory. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. I also can't figure out the lighting, so the video might have some off lighting. But let's go ahead and do my best to discuss this coffee. We'll start talking about Dark Arts Coffee, affectionately known as Harry Potter coffee. Based out of East London. Their website's very interesting. They're kind of poking fun at themselves, but looks like they've been around since 2014. Discovered them at one of my favorite coffee shops. That's a multi-roaster. They use a lot of European roasters, and this is just what they were featuring this month. So figured I'd give it a shot. This Honduras was one of the favorites of the barista, so I decided to go with this one. Now, I'm just going to jump into the description that they have of the notes. They say jasmine and cherry, so I was expecting some florals and some fruits to come through. What I do remember from the initial days, got this about day 10, day 11, was pulling the coffee out of the box and saying that it looked a little darker than I had expected. And the first time I did brew it, it was a little roasty for me. That being said, I put it through every single brew method I have, and I couldn't figure out this coffee. So I always like to give the roaster the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to put this one on me and say I'm the one that couldn't figure out this coffee. No matter how I brewed it, through any sort of pour over method, through any sort of automatic coffee maker, it just wasn't working for me. And there are two things it could be. It could be that I just couldn't figure out this coffee, or it could be that I haven't necessarily acquired a taste for English coffee. I'm not the biggest fan of most of the English coffee roasters I've been to. When I took my trip to England, I remember thinking to myself, it would be really nice to have something from somewhere else in Europe or some American coffee roaster to kind of balance things out, because it was hit or miss for me in England overall. But I think that's England has a completely different coffee culture and what they expect as their norm versus the United States, and that's just what it's gonna be one of those two things. So I don't want to knock this coffee too much. And there's still a lot to talk about with this coffee. But as it progressed, I noticed that I was getting less of any sort of fruits I was getting at the beginning, and it became way more nutty for me, especially now, day 19, day 20. To me, anyway, this tastes just like a box of mixed nuts. Like, I can't begin to pinpoint that this is extremely similar to one of those little cans of mixed nuts. You get so many cashews, so many peanuts, and that's why it's interesting to me that that's not what they label on this coffee, because that's what I get out of this coffee. It's very prominent, very notable. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it up the tasting wheel now so you can see what I was getting. And I contemplated putting the salty higher, and I did put the salty higher, and I wish I still had my original copy of this tasting wheel because I'm curious as to what I said then. But pretty smoky cup of coffee, chocolatey. I'm still, it's on the verge of 3 and 4 for the saltiness, because definitely a lot of nuts to it. Berry fruit, because I still was getting some cherry early on, and while that's tapered off, I can still taste it. It's just not as prominent now. Not the cleanest cup of coffee, mild body, still a little bitter, some chocolate, and even now slightly roasty for me. And going into this video, I knew I had to think about who I would recommend this coffee to and who I would suggest this coffee to, but I think it kind of hit me as I was making the video and drinking this, because I had no idea. I think that now that I can kind of say anybody that does like really nutty coffees, because I know that there's something wrong with how I'm perceiving this coffee, and I just can't put my finger on it, but I'm always going to be honest about things. And the fact that this is so nutty and just slightly roasty for me, I think it says that that's the type of person that you should suggest this coffee to, and that's the person that would really enjoy this coffee, is somebody that really, really likes all those different types of nuts, especially when their coffee tastes like that. And again, I want to emphasize, I don't have any huge knocks on this coffee. It just wasn't my favorite, and I will openly say it wasn't my favorite. Might go back and try another bag or box of their coffee, but as far as this one goes, I mean, that's pretty much all the thoughts I have on it. I still wish I had the rest of my notes so I could go a little further and in depth into this, but I think I'm just going to leave it at that. If you've tried this coffee, if you've tried any of Dark Arts coffee, please comment down below and let me know what you thought of them or this one. If you're enjoying this content, give this a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. This right here has been a review of Dark Arts Coffee's Lonesome Town, washed Honduras. Thank you for watching.